Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On this episode of Freelance Manga Police, a sign of affection. Welcome, everybody. I am your linguistic language learner, Kermit the Grog, here with my dynamically deaf, adorable co-star, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad. Brad, how you doing? Brad, you're right in front of me. Can you not hear me? He's waving at me. It's like he can't hear me at all. Okay. I don't know how to proceed with this. I don't know sign language yet. I've been wanting to learn it though, so okay, enough.
You're gonna keep this bit up for the entire episode.
You're really awkward.
I'm not actually here. You're just recording it all yourself.
By myself. I swear he's right here. Shonen Jumping the Gun is secretly a podcast with one human, just doing both voices separately. Yeah, Brad, how you doing? We have started. How do you feel about the start of Shonen Jumping the Gun's romance retrieval arc?
Well, I mean, I've been doing romance stuff for years now, so not too different for me.
I say retrieval, but because Sasuke retrieval arc is such a foundational, silly arc name in my brain, and it felt better than just saying the romance arc. We're bringing it back.
I'm glad to have you on this journey.
I'm retrieving romance from myself.
So, Hema 10 hurt you so badly.
Hema 10 made me go, no, I have to like something in here. I'm not that cold and heartless.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
We will. We'll find out in a future episode. I'm something else. But we'll get there. Today we're covering A Sign of Affection, which was recommended to us by multiple people on our Discord, including our co-star Ben.
I think Ben was first, but more specifically, he recommended the anime. So.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting. But also Discord regular Last of the Red Rose, and I don't remember if Maxi B recommended it or not.
There was a lot of
recommends
in that thread. So
yes,
yeah,
a lot of people whom we adore in the Discord recommended this one, amongst many others that we will be slowly working our way through during this romance retrieval arc. So, because this is Freelance Manga Police, it runs a little bit differently, and we haven't done one of these in a long time. So, I'm just going to tell you all the information I know about it at the top before we start our summary. So, from my research, the first chapter dropped July 24th, 2019. I know in America legally it's available on K-Manga, because that's where I read it. K-Manga. Though, from what Wikipedia told me, there were physical releases in English. K-Manga seemingly did not have all the chapters, because Wikipedia tells me there's at least 9 volumes out in English, but K-Manga only had about 44 chapters. Some seemingly split into parts like it was a fan translation. It was very strange.
Interesting.
I don't know what was up with that, but I also don't know if we'd go to Barnes & Noble we could find this or not.
I know that there's some series that are not weekly releases, or maybe are weekly releases, where the page count is lower than what they want for a full chapter for in the physical release. And so whatever they're releasing either every week or every other week is basically just half a chapter.
That's a thought.
I don't know exactly why that is. I would imagine it has to do with digital releases and how with a digital release you would want it to come out more often instead of waiting a full month or 2 weeks or whatever.
And especially with something like K-Manga where you have to pay per chapter with your magical... Is it just points on K-Manga? No ink, no keys, no ribbons or whatnot?
The first chapter was free?
The first couple chapters were free. The first chapter was definitely free because I have not paid any money on this website yet. But I might. Stay tuned.
If you remember from Kermit's excellent Shonen Jump history video, K-Manga is one of the better bad digital publishers.
It felt less scummy than wherever I tried to read Star Strike It Rich however many months ago that was. Yeah, that was more of just like, I don't even want to go back. And here I'm like, and maybe some of that's the manga that I read, but okay, enough dawdling. Let's get started. We're delving in. I've read very few romances. Kermit's patented speedrun summary. It's still here from Freelance Manga, please. Don't worry. We open on poetry, wondering if one could fall in love like the silently falling snow. Color splash page of our two lovers. We're on a train in current-day Japan. A girl is looking at social media on her phone. A foreigner tries to ask her directions, but she doesn't seem to understand and panics a little. A boy who looks like Light Yagami from Death Note, like legit, appears and speaks in English to the foreigner. Our girl thinks she recognized him as a clubmate of her friend Rin-chan from college and wants to thank him for helping her. A wordless art splash page has the girl showing off some sort of ear device and attempts to speak with hand gestures. He doesn't know sign language, but asks if she knows how to read lips, and he leans in, maybe a little too close. She can, a little. She's told that foreigner spoke really good Japanese, actually, but more importantly, our boy finds our girl very interesting. She uses her phone to show how they know each other through Rin-chan. He says he's getting off at this stop, but she gets off at the next one. He rustles her hair as he leaves the train, saying, "See you around." She's fallen in love with him. It's confirmed she was born deaf. Cut to later, and she's talking to Rin-chan at college. They're talking about the boy. It's Omi. He's a world traveler, and Yuki, our girl we've been following, has such a crush on him. We learn he works part-time at a cafe, and that the owner is someone Rin has a crush on, so the two vow to go and talk to their crushes together. We arrive at, I believe the cafe is called the Rockin' Robin. It never shows all the text at once, but via getting part of it and end of it, I put together that's what it's called, which I thought was a very interesting name, but also would explain why later on we learned there's a bunch of foreigners there, and I could see a bunch of foreigners going let's go to that 1950s cafe. Itsuomi is here, but now he looks like Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen. Different vibe. Itsuomi asks if Yuki wants a drink, and she is blushing mad hard. He's pushy, but in a good way? He brings over a whiteboard to make it easier to communicate, and she writes she's only 19 and wants some tea. She asks him what languages he knows, and he writes English, German, and a little Chinese and a little Spanish. There's a group of foreigners in the cafe, and one woman of that group kisses him on the cheek, but he doesn't really react. Is that normal to him? He really must be a world traveler. She gets too nervous to ask, and they leave the cafe. But it turns out Itsuomi is now off the clock and offers to walk them home, which they accept. Well, Yuki does. Rin lives 5 minutes from here and just leaves on her own. They walk. Itsuomi pulls Yuki close when a motorbike passes and then holds her hand unprompted in the cold like it was nothing. It's nice. Warm. It's all getting to be too much, and she finally works up the courage to ask for his number. He asks how to say sure in sign language. She shows him, and he responds in kind. They part ways. Yuki texts him, if the rest of the world is big. He responds, gigantic. He then responds, let me into Yuki's world? ? They're still close enough. She does a big overhand okay sign and excitedly waves as she leaves her apartment, so flush with feelings. End chapter 1. I liked it. It's fine. I felt more about it reading the summary, I think, because it was so condensed. It's pleasant.
I think that I will like this more as an anime.
Ooh.
I think the motion, especially with the sign language stuff, is going to be significantly different. Now, I will say, I thought they did a really good job with not doing too much dialogue because she's deaf. And this is from her perspective. So we're seeing the world quietly as she does.
There's information she can't pick up,
right,
that we don't get either, which I appreciate.
So from that perspective, I think that was really good. I imagine that anime probably has music and actual dialogue. Well, yeah, and stuff.
I think you're saying motion, sound, and a thing, whole idea of a character that can't hear, the ability to mess around with sound. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be a quiet anime, but you know what I mean. It lets you play. You have more levers to pull on to try to get things across.
Now, if the anime does something cool where they mute the dialogue or something like that, then that could be interesting.
Because you'd get, I guess we'd get subtitles because we'd be watching the sub.
Yeah.
But that would be. I mean, you couldn't do it all of it. I don't know. I'd be curious. But I like that how they handled it. I'll admit, I think something we're going to find with like, I don't know if it's going to be done on the mainline podcast or we're just going to get into it piece by piece or some bonus episode as we go through the romance retrieval arc about like how and why I feel about them. Like, this was fine. I think I appreciated the gimmick of like the whole like, I'm deaf and how do you navigate that? Because like, I've always really wanted to learn sign language. I think language is already fascinating enough, and language through hands and what that can communicate and all that, like, I just find that really interesting. So but no, like, I had a good time with this. It wasn't too hallmarky. Sometimes they draw the boy and he looks a little silly, and I appreciate that. He's not just like, I always have that axe to grind when things where it's just like, oh, the dreamy character is never drawn not the most immaculately, and I'm just like, oh, come on. So, like, I appreciate every so often that he has, like, big South Park eyes when he's, like, looking at something kind of comically or whatever.
Yeah. I'd say this is the kind of thing that I would just read even if it didn't have, you know, the deaf character or anything like that. Just the literal slice of life romance kind of thing. I'm just into that. The fact that there is an interesting hook to it with her being deaf and him being a multilinguist. Yeah, there's a specific word for that. I forget what it is, but
would you call him cunning?
We'll find out.
Hey, you put that one together, listeners.
But I think that the gimmick there does heighten it. Yeah. It gives you more to latch onto.
It gives me, as somebody who needs more than just the fluffy romance to latch onto.
Right.
But no, like, I mean, Hima-ten is not a good touching point, but like, there's other romancy ones that have had other gimmicks that I have bounced off of really hard. Mm-hmm. I think in this descent into all of these, I'm going to reveal too much about myself. And I think people already know I'm insane. But I don't know. Like, this one was very, like, I enjoyed my time with it, but I don't think I'm going to keep reading it. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, maybe.
I'm definitely going to keep reading it. I don't know how quickly or when, but this is definitely, it went directly on my...
It's what you like. It's on your plate.
Yeah.
I started this conversation on the Discord because this compared to hi everybody, your second episode you'll be getting after this one, actually for real now that we release these weekly when these finally come out. Like, the two we read form a really good parallel to each other to like delve into what I like and what I don't like and what draws me in. But we haven't gotten there yet, so we can't have that conversation.
You shouldn't make promises like that though, because what if something new drops in between these two?
I don't care. It's the romance retrieval arc. At least these two are going to remain buddies. I don't know. You know romances more than I do. Like, obviously they get together at some point. Like, he's going to learn more sign language. Like, she's going to learn more about like that, like why he's traveling around and what his situation is. Like,
I can't.
Maybe we'll see if Rin-chan gets together with a cafe owner.
I can't make meaningful predictions here because I have a vague sense of what happens based on just knowing
genre knowledge.
No, specific to the series.
Oh, okay.
But so I have to sort of temper, my predictions here. But one thing I don't know, but I suspect heavily, is there will be a point where they've been together, and she will start to have doubts because he's really interested in sign language and all of that, and she'll start to go, oh, is he only with me because of that?
Yeah, once the mystery of how I operate runs out, will he still like me?
Right.
Yeah, that seems like an inevitability, and then that just won't be the case because that wouldn't be nice and charming and pleasant to read.
That said, short of all of the standard romance things of, we're going to sort of just go back and forth for a little while without confirming feelings for sure.
How many chapters do you think we're going to tango dance around until things are declared?
I don't see this one as being completely tropey, so I would think it wouldn't be too long.
Okay.
So 5-6 chapters,
Okay,
maybe.
I can dig that. Probably shouldn't have chose Tango. Maybe a Foxtrot, something a little lighter, more subtle. Tango's too burning with passion, too angular.
How about something that you don't need to hear the music for? A Riverdance.
Oh. So, yeah, that is that. So now that we are entering a new arc, we are also changing things up, which you've probably already heard us talk about in the episodes you've heard prior to this, but we're kind of canonizing it more, that we are retiring the flop pool, especially also because this is Freelance Manga Police, but just like the conversation of will it survive in the magazine always just came down to, I don't know, Japanese teenagers, and we'd throw our hands up, and like, that's not interesting. Like, there's nothing compelling there. And again, double for this because it's not in a magazine. It's on K-Manga, it's available digitally, and I don't really care about what magazine it's in. It survives as long as it survives.
And it definitely, there's a component of like, does it really matter how long it survives in the particular magazine? Because if we come into it and go, or one of us is like, I like this, I'm going to keep reading it, I hope it lives because I like it.
Yeah, it always came down to feelings, which we're still going to go over. So I want to try, we're gonna try in some other segments, because I want to fill this in with something that's a conversation starter. So my pitch, and we'll figure it out at some point, a better, more cowboy gun ammo's name to it, but I want to talk about what is one thing you hope sticks around and one thing that you hope kind of falls to the wayside of this first chapter that we saw moving forward.
Oh, man. I mean, this is a hard one for this.
I don't know if there's like enough unique to it to grab onto to go.
Yeah, and because not a ton has actually happened.
True. You want me to bat one?
I think something that I want to stay is the cafe. I want that to be, I want that to keep coming back. Not necessarily like every single chapter kind of thing, but like I want them to visit there enough. He works there. I want them to hang out there. I want to see more of the interaction with Rin and the shop owner.
You get that. You get the crowds and the foreigners coming through, and that kind of plays into his worldliness. So
I'd like to see a continuation of that. Like, hey, those foreign girls kiss you all the time. What's up with that?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as far as things that I don't want to stick around, that's harder because there wasn't really anything in this that I was like, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah, that again, we're figuring this out. Maybe it's like a one or if you have something and you don't have to be forced if you're thinking about it. I hope we get to keep learning sign language. I want to learn it too bad. I keep emailing the local organization near me and they never respond, so at some point I'm just going to need to call them. What would I want to de-emphasize? I hope it's not like too, I think it's like what you said, and I guess I don't want that to happen if it's too much of just like it's a gimmick of like, oh, he's only interested because of the language. Like I hope it's not too much of that, or we have to get stuck in like the mechanic, the lip reading. It's like we've already learned that, so hopefully we don't have to get too bogged down in those mechanics when it's not super important.
I've got one for you.
Okay.
I want them to downplay the juvenile aspect that she has. Because in this first chapter, you know, she's like, oh, I'm 19. Obviously, she's still a teenager. She's still young. But the way it's sort of presented at first, she seems younger than she should be.
Really?
And I don't know if there's something there with like the way that we sort of treat people with disabilities kind of thing, or if it's just the way she's drawn or something like that. But if they treat her more like an adult, I would actually counterpoint that. I think some of it, and it's a part of their relationship, is her worldview is smaller. Because like here's this globetrotting dude who knows all these languages, it's backpacking all over the place, and here's her that's just been in Japan and essentially where she's living in now in college. Like I think that's part of it, but I mean you might just be seeing something I don't see. So. I mean I think your point's fair there. I don't know, and it could just be the way she's drawn that I get this. You know,
I hope she gets
childish.
to expand. I hope she gets to, if he's going to learn more of the things of living as a deaf person and the stuff that comes with that, I hope she gets to, like, some of that worldliness can rub off onto her and she has a better understanding of things. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. With that, we get into how are we feeling about it.
Well, I mean, like I already said, I'm going to keep reading this. So, given just this first chapter, I think I'm just going to go with good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like I'm expecting this. I'm expecting it to be great, but just from the first chapter, I can't quite say that.
Okay. I can dig it. I'm giving it a fine. It's fine, but in brackets, my modifier is respectful. Because I also sometimes throw fine around as parenthesis derogatory, and this is a fine, respectfully.
Fine, brackets, Kermit.
No, that means different thing. Oh, that's just a shorter way to write derogatory.
No, it's you have specific situations.
But that's why I put the spin on it. Like, it is fine, but I mean that in a positive way instead of like a derisive way.
Right.
Which is why it's the same word, but why I have my modifier on it. Like, I had a good time with it. To our next question, like, I'm probably not going to keep reading it, but I'd be curious to keep tabs on it in like an interested way, and I'm not like I want to know how the train wreck is going, because it's not a train wreck at all. But it's not a flavor I'd want to keep going, and especially with like I'd have to deal with K manga and pay money per chapter.
Yeah.
And it did not give me enough for what I like in things to get me over that hill.
I mean, maybe then it would be easier if you bought the volume.
I don't want to do that. I'm not interested. I might read like the 2 other free chapters if I have it. If 2 and 3 are free, I might just to get like a little bit more now that we've recorded the episode. But like, I'm not. It's mostly just this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. Again, brackets respectfully instead of Hema 10 where it's this isn't for me. Brackets pissed.
Yeah. I would probably buy the volume for this.
Wow, big statements.
Again, that's tempered with I need to read a couple more chapters. But if it goes where I expect it to, this would definitely be something that I could see owning.
This is my romantic recording buddy, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad. Hey.
I have a whole other series about
I know, but I'm not on that show, so I don't think about it, even if I listen to them.
You listen to it?
I do. I don't think about it. I'm not here when I'm listening to it in the recording studio, so that'd be really weird if I just sat in my basement alone and listened to podcasts and did nothing else.
Listen to it through the headphones that you have on, so it seems like I'm right here.
I just imagine...
Or put
that's such a sad. I'm just picturing the sad thing that you've like moved or passed or something, and I'm just down here listening to. That's sad. I'm gonna cry. Okay, we're getting distracted.
Just re-listening to all of the episodes.
Yeah, just pretending. Oh gosh,
I
miss Brad.
It's all right. I won't die for at least another 3 weeks.
God, we have to finish this arc. You have to stick around long enough so we can finally read Slam Dunk when it comes out in America again. So yeah, I think we already went over how many chapters because this is Freelance Manga Police, so there's no being cute about it.
Yeah,
I do believe that's the end of the episode. So thank you everybody for listening, and Brad, hit me with those plugs.
Well, as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart's a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch. They got all kinds of cool stuff you can't get outside Japan. Our listeners can check the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order, which also helps us out. You can let us know what you think on social media. You can find links for all of that on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can also leave comments about these podcast episodes, as well as find other posts and reviews. We've also got a Discord where you can come chat with us. And don't forget to check out our Patreon. Supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series we cover on heroin addiction, if you're into the romance stuff, as well as getting the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early. And we'd love to hear what perks you'd like. And of course, we got to shout out our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we've got Cake Dwarf and Moon. At our Commoner tier, we've got Kill Hour and Rena. So thanks so much to all our patrons.
Thank you, Brad. And once again, thank you everybody for listening. Brad, I'm happy to know that even if I go deaf, I still could find love. Did you ever play the WarioWare game on the Wii?
No.
Smooth Moves. Every time you'd get different poses with the they call it the form baton. And different minigames were like, oh, get into this pose. But you got like I don't remember if it was a haiku or just a poem. And there was a guy who sounded like this. Except I can't fully capture his sound, but he had a very wonderfully low rumble to him. It's so... I stumble on these all the time. We really should prep these before. It's Suomi-san? His name was weird.
I thought it was just Itsumi, but spell it?
Itsumi. Itsuomi.
Itsomi.
Itsomi. Itsumi. Suomi, yeah, because it's OU.
Itsomi.
Itsomi, Mario. Do I just do something poignant? Because the thing that came to my brain was something poignant.
What? You're just going to point at me?
No, poignant. It's not a fucking gag manga.
Yet.
Could you imagine? Like the first 5 chapters are like a very genuine, fuzzy view like romance, and then it just turns into like not a comedy, a gag manga. Gosh, that'd be good.